Welcome to the Author to Authority podcast, and today I have my wonderful co-host Juanita Wootton-Radko with me, and we're going to be talking about how to create the outline of your book. Now, if you missed the last episode that we did together, we actually talked about 3 key reasons why you need an outline for your book. Yeah. So if you haven't listened to that one yet, you are going to want to go back and listen to it. And it was episode 21. So go to www.author-to-authority.com/podcast/S2- or line, whatever you want to call it, EP21, and you can see the beginning of this 2-part series. But today we're actually going to discuss the basics of creating an outline. So welcome, Juanita. So glad to have you on today.
Hi, Kim. Happy to be here.
So, Juanita, we did talk on the last episode about the importance of creating an outline, but I did want to maybe just touch on that again quickly, and I think you and I can't
emphasize the importance.
Yes.
Enough. I agree, Kim.
I had another word in my brain, and I can say it in my brain. It was just not coming out of my mouth today. The importance of it. And did you have any thoughts that you wanted to quickly share on that?
I thought about how it's great to collect ideas and prepare yourself with an outline, and how an outline just gives you a roadmap to your end goal.
So true. So true. And I like what you said about collecting your thoughts. I think it's just a really great way to kind of organize things, not only in your brain, but also on paper as well. So today we're going to talk about the 3 kind of key areas of your outline. And before we do that, though, I just want to give like sort of a general what an outline looks like. So in RTI Publishing, we will normally do a preface, and then we'll do either an introductory chapter or we go straight to chapter 1. It depends on the topic, depends on the person. That introductory chapter a lot of times just really helps introduce you to the reader. So it's a great chapter to be able to tell your story, be able to share what the main themes of the book are, and really, who is this book for? That's always a critical piece. You want to very quickly weed out people who are not appropriate for the book, because if they continue reading it and it's not really for them, they're probably not going to enjoy it as much and can give you mediocre reviews, which is not really something you want.
They're not going to act on it either.
Yeah, they're not going to act on it. Yeah, good point. So, then after your introduction, you're going to go into your body chapters, and each one is just kind of like, what's the problem, solution type thing. And then you're going to end with a closing. So when you're thinking about creating this outline, we have what we call the who, what, why questions that you really want to consider before you even start working on the outline itself. So we're going to talk about those 3 today on the podcast. So Juanita, I've done a bit of talking here, so I'm going to let you share your thoughts first on the question of what.
When you start off collecting your ideas for your book, you want to have, I start with a piece of paper. I know I love technology. I want to say that I'm not a Luddite. I'm totally happy writing on a computer. But when I want to capture all my ideas, I write down, I make a mind map. What I like to think of it as an idea web where I start off with my big idea in the center of a piece of white paper, and then I draw a bunch of lines out. Think of it like spokes from a wheel or lines on a spider web, whatever. I kind of think of it as like a happy octopus where anyway, my big idea is right in the middle, and then I'll go, oh yeah, that makes me think of this, and that makes me think of that. I know when I speak and get excited about something, I tend to jump from one topic to the next, to the next, to the next, because in my mind, I see the connections already. I have to put that on paper to marshal my thoughts, to organize in a sequential order, and kind of fill in the gaps of between each of those discrete ideas. So that's something on the what side of things that's really important, is start off with a piece of paper and a pen. You can't get much simpler than that.
And actually, we should have probably started with who first, because who leads to what. So we'll backtrack for a moment, and then I'll come back and share my thoughts on the what. You have to know who it is that you're writing to first. That is key. If you want a book that's effectual, that reaches people, there's a saying, if you write to everybody, you write to nobody. So you really do need to know who it is that you're writing to. And so you can create an avatar, perfect reader avatar, you know, your target market sheet, whatever terms float your boat, you know, that's what you want to create. You want to think of that person that you want reading, and you want to think of that person as an individual, not as a group. You want to see that person as a real person and write to them as if they were sitting right in front of you, like you were talking to them. So you want to consider that person carefully, whether they're male, female. Now, in many cases, your books will be written to both male or female, but sometimes on some topics, it's important to determine whether that perfect reader is male or female, because there are slightly different writing styles to each group. You want to figure out kind of the age of the person. If you're talking to millennials, there are certain things they're not going to really get. Like, you wouldn't talk to a millennial about the 80s and walking around with a Sony Walkman with a cassette in it. They probably don't even know what a cassette is. Maybe the older millennials would. But, you know, a lot of the younger kids today don't have a clue. It always makes me think of a video I saw on Facebook where this father took his teenage son and his best friend, put them in front of a rotary telephone, and told them to figure out how to dial out. It was hilarious. These young people did not know how to use a rotary phone. And yet, you know, for Juanita and I, that was a normal part of life. You know, you picked it up, you dialed the numbers one at a time, and then right, back and forth. So you want to make sure that, you know, you determine an age, because depending on your topic, you will need to use vocabulary that is relevant to that specific age group. Or if it's a more general, broader base, you know, if you're going to use terms that maybe some of the people can't understand, then you're going to have to make sure that you explain them. And Juanita, you look like you have a thought you want to share there.
Oh yeah, I think, oh, you always want to be careful with slang. Slang is different from jargon, but yeah, phrases that don't necessarily age well, really, you know, like we could say that something was totally rad or tubular, and
or like gag me with a spoon.
Yeah, and that just, while people might understand the context, they go, wow, this is old material, before you've even started out of the gate. Thinking about your intended audience is really important. was going to add too that you were talking about millennials, and I'm like, do you know that actually millennials are now in their mid to late 30s, and so we're aging up everybody. There, and that's a really important thing to avoid those kind of topics. Also, think about whether you're writing to potential clients who are unfamiliar with the product or service that you sell versus a book for current clients who are ready to graduate to the next level or premium range of service. They already kind of like you, love you, and love your product.
Yes.
Whereas, you're kind of wooing that first group. So
warming them up.
A big difference too. Also, the amount of educating the potential reader about what your product is, what is different too. You can get more in depth with your current clients because they're hungry for more information, and they're like, give me the meat and potatoes now. I'm done with the the appetizers.
Oh, that's so true. You also need to consider where this person is at in life, which kind of leads to the what. Because in your book, you want to progress people, and we're talking nonfiction books here, so we're not talking fiction books. But in your signature nonfiction book that you're using to build your business, the goal is to show your expertise and provide a lot of value. So you want to bring your reader from where they are now, point A, to point B, C, D, E, whatever the end of that line is. So, when you're thinking about this person, you also want to think about what is it that this person needs. And like Juanita pointed out, if you're working on a cold market, you've got to do a fair amount of warming up to get them ready to take action. Whereas a book to a warm or hot market is just a matter of more of, here's the information, here's my story, go for it, I know you can do it. So, that then leads into the what. And for the what section, it really is about bringing people from point A to point B, getting them over those initial humps that they need to get past to be able to start moving forward to their desired goal or outcome.
I would say that there's three things that I think about here. Number one, your goal is to establish credibility. And to do that, you want to prove that you're knowledgeable and show that you're trustworthy.
Yes.
Credibility comes from being familiar with your product, familiar with the needs of your clients, and familiar with the associated challenges that they have.
Yes.
I could even add an extra one, would be familiar with the places where your product doesn't apply. I won't say weaknesses, but places where the limitations of your product, so that you are fitting it to your client's needs as best as possible. To be knowledgeable, you should know the facts, basic facts about your product, about your service, and those are features and benefits. That's a feature on a sewing machine, for example, could be that it has a bobbin winder. So what? They all do. A feature on the sewing machines that I sold, I didn't have to unthread the machine. It was able to, kept the machine threaded, and that was able to lead me to the benefit of, number one, I didn't have an extra job of threading the machine. The client liked that. And number two, it made sewing faster and easier. And Those are the things. Knowing your benefits really is just the easiest way to win over any client. If you can say, what are the 3 things you hate most about whatever their problem is? And then you go, these are how I can fix your 3 problems. Then I go, hallelujah, I am ready to give you my money.
And I think those features and benefits ultimately lead to the outcome. And that's something that you want to focus in on. So, you know, you've got the feature, you've got the benefit, which it saves time. But the outcome is that it allows you to create this
more pleasurable.
Well, not only more pleasurable, but the ultimate end goal is to create, whether, you know, it's a quilt, a piece of clothing, a piece of home decor, whatever it is that you're sewing, is to create it with excellence and come out feeling wonderful about the whole process of creating. Right? So it's not even just about faster, it's about the end outcome of creating what it is that you see in your mind and doing it in such an easy way that at the end of it, you know, you're proud to present this as a gift to someone.
Yes.
Or display it in your home.
In sales meetings, we'd often talk about what are we selling? We are not selling, yes, we are selling sewing machines, but more than that, we're selling the enjoyment of being able to create. And I mean, I held this up. We're selling the ability to express yourself creatively. And that's, it's an abstract thing to say here, ta-da, we've got something for creative expression, but we're selling the vehicle that takes you to that place, and the fact that you're going to have a similar idea for your customer. Your book becomes the vehicle for your customer to have a goal like that. It'll be an abstract goal, but I will feel more satisfied. I'll have accomplished something meaningful to me because I applied what I learned from your book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's, you know, that's taking it, that's, you know, so that was a perfect example of taking it from a feature and a benefit, which is more fact-based, to really to the heart of what the person is feeling and what the person is desiring. And that's some of the things that you want to capture in your outline, because it's not just about taking them from point A to B. It's about how all the different areas that have to occur to take that person from point A to B. There will be physical things stopping them. There could be financial things stopping them. There could be relationship things stopping them. There could be mental, emotional, mindset things stopping them. So you have to consider all of these things when you're creating the outline of the book, and that you address them so that people can start to move from point A to point B.
So yeah, actually having a list of problems why is actually a beneficial thing, a good thing for you to have, because you go, all right, this is how I address each and every one of those objections. It kind of sets you up for your chapter structures. Problem, solution, problem, solution. I feel like it's kind of, you ever notice when you're watching a sitcom, you're going along, oh, there's all the characters that I like and everything's fine, and oh, there's a problem, and what do we do? And then they come up with a solution. Usually, if it's a comedy, then usually a bad solution that backfires terribly, and then there's a resolution, another solution, and then someone says, why don't you just tell the truth, or why don't you do this, which is really the obvious answer all along. And at the end of the story, it resolves, and the characters are almost right back where they started. Maybe, hopefully a little wiser, but not necessarily. If you've watched a lot of sitcoms, the whole point is that, well, these people are a little bit dumb and they make dumb choices.
You know, and
but
then
you're not one of those people. You're going to make a good choice and write a book.
You know, and then on the other end, you have these drama shows where everything kind of just slowly creeps along and builds up to this climatic ending, and life is horrible, then life is good, and it resolves itself again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, you know, think about that, which then leads to kind of the last one, which is why. And this is something you need to consider for the outline of your book. Why are you writing this book? And there's lots of reasons why to write a book. You know, some of them just include that you feel like you've got, you know, the story of your life that you just need to get out there. And that is valid, incredibly valid.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you just have information that you want to share. That is a valid reason too. But understanding why is important. But if you are writing your book to build your business, that is a very specific type of book. And that's why it's important to understand your why. If you're just sharing your story, yes, you want to do it effectively, but you're not expecting the reader to take action on it. So if you're planning on writing your storybook, go for it. That's good. Your memoir, your biography, whatever, you know, whatever type of book that you want to write. But just recognize that you may not get results from that book that you want. So if you're looking to write that book for your business, then you've got to solve problems, you've got to provide value, you've got to show credibility, and you have to have call to actions in that book. You have to provide opportunities for people to connect with you, because you think, oh, they're going to read the book and connect with me. People do not. People are bombarded day and night with thousands upon thousands of messages. If you want them to take action, you have to tell them to take action. And then secondly, you have to tell them what action it is that you want them to take.
Jeffrey Gitomer is an expert in his books at getting people to have actions. At the end of each chapter, he's got next steps, or he has, I think he calls them git bits or something like that, little nuggets of extra information. He said, and if you want to learn more about this, you can go to our website and get a downloadable tracker for keeping track of the number of times that you ate chocolate chip cookies this month, or that might be my tracker. Actually, I don't count. I just eat them till I'm happy. It's a smiley
Chocolate
thing.
makes the world go round.
A happier thing. But yeah, so don't forget that your website, links to your website, links to people love quizzes. They don't all necessarily have to be serious tools that help you. You know, BuzzFeed, oh my goodness, BuzzFeed does this all the time with pick 4 ingredients and we'll tell you what kind of smoothie you are. So they have cuckoo quizzes and people love doing them. What kind of smoothie? Pick two types of reptiles and we'll tell you what shoes you should buy next week. And so you can have fun because people like to play with you. If you show that you're fun and you have that aspect, you don't necessarily have to have a more formal approach,
Mm-hmm.
but it's another way of adding value to your book.
Yeah.
And it points people in the direction of your call to action. And that is for people to interact with you more. I can say that as a blanket statement because obviously you'll want to talk to people, you want to tell people, give people a message if you're writing a book.
Yes. Well, I think we've done a good job here of covering this topic. Do you have any final thoughts you would like to share with us, Juanita?
I made a note about this that I should warn a little caveat. I think we talked about this last time. Don't have a field of dreams approach to your book. That it's so tempting, and I thought maybe I should explain field of dreams because as we were talking about earlier, how some references get dated. There was a movie about a guy who kept having a repeating dream about having a baseball diamond on his farm in a cornfield, basically. And he had this recurring dream, and the phrase was, if you build it, they will come. Mm-hmm. And he builds the dream, or he builds the baseball diamond, and yes, they came.
And he mows down his cornfield.
Which seems like a bad plan, honestly, if you want to eat corn later.
Or sell it for money.
So, anyway, in the book, in the story and movie, it magically happened. Mm. There was a magic response to his unusual or creative approach to this problem. It's tempting to develop a, if you write it, people will buy it mentality. Mm. When you write a book, there's this funny thing that happens where you fall in love with your own ideas. Especially if you've spent time polishing them and refining them. You know, suddenly it becomes the gospel of potato chips or whatever. It's taken so much of your attention and such prominence in your life that you tend not to understand why people don't immediately have a visceral and instinctive attraction to it. And I know I'm not the only one who's done this. I get very excited about my ideas and go, oh, I have a great idea. My husband has gotten to the point where he's like, oh yes. He's just along for the ride, but not everybody is going to be that excited.
And I think we should probably do a podcast on the 2 elements of becoming an international best-selling author. I think that would be an interesting one, and we'd be able to have a very to finish actually this discussion, because you've started it here. So maybe for our next episode, let's talk about the 2 elements of becoming an international bestseller, and you're going to be surprised. Well, this is Juanita Wootton-Radko and Kim Thompson-Pinder on the Author to Authority podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or YouTube. Our episodes come out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you don't want to miss a single one. So this has been a wonderful episode. Thank you for Juanita. Thank you to Juanita for being on as my co-host and my best friend. And we will see you on the very next episode. Bye now.
Bye-bye.